Gentlemen, how's everybody doing? We had prayers answered. Look at the weather, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to see something. Turn around. You see that shirt? Somebody read it out loud. And we are here today because we want to have a brand new education initiative introduced here in Colorado of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Social Justice Movement. How about that? So think about this. When George Floyd was murdered, everything went to Hades. And then January the 6th, we've seen, I'm sorry, folks, I know better than this, to the Honorable Wilma and Wellington E. Webb, to Governor Polis, to the Dr. Martin Luther King commissioners. I'm sorry, folks, I just kind of get carried away. I didn't do protocol, and I'm a protocol guy. Forgive me. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mayor and Mrs. Wellington Webb. Give them a hand. Nicole Elliott sung the national anthem, and she was accompanied by Michael Chipman. That boy beats up on a piano. I told him to be careful not to get arrested because this piano is up here screaming still. It's smoking. Back to what I was saying, though, ladies and gentlemen. Look, we realize that if we look at the past and the success that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had with his nonviolent movement and the legislation that was passed thereof, we have to start doing that the right way again. We have to start doing that again. And so we're introducing that initiative. And I'm going to bring somebody up now who has a wonderful, wonderful announcement. A young man who he and I are going to have a good friendship from here on out. Sean Ryan, who happens to be the president of education for McGraw-Hill. Sean.
Dr. Howard, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, my brother. He's good looking, isn't he?
Not that young. Wow. Some beautiful words, beautiful sounds in a beautiful place. I really want to slow time down and appreciate this moment and not rush through it, because this doesn't happen very often. Even if it happens annually, it doesn't happen very often. This is a special experience. I want to slow my heart down a little bit as well. Now I have a question for you. I have a choice that I'm going to offer you. Do you want the usual sanitized corporate version of my words today? Or option number 2, may I speak from the heart today? Thank you. So, we all know this. Colorado is a land of awe-inspiring beauty. We're privileged to be able to gather here. To gather here with the blessing of a nation, to gather here with the blessing of the state, with the city, because people several times, many times, too many times, had the courage, first 50 strong, then 50 more, and ultimately 3,000 folks had the courage to face fire hoses and police dogs in peaceful protest to injustice. And they inspired the conscience of a nation, which is what I see behind me. The conscience of a nation. I'm referring to the march in Birmingham in 1963 in spring. Those marches led to Dr. King's 13th arrest. And when he was alone in that cell, he wrote a letter to all of humanity. We heard some of those words earlier today. But not only did he write that letter to humanity, he wrote that letter to posterity, to all of us. We are privileged to be able to share those words today. So the first time I came to this beautiful state was 1984 to join an institution that trains future leaders, the United States Air Force Academy. And one of our foundational texts that everyone had to read, no matter their socioeconomic background, their religion, their race, their ethnicity, was Letter from a Birmingham Jail. And it continues to inspire me today. Now, a lot of time has passed since then. When Dr. King wrote those words, there were a little more than 3 billion people sharing this planet. 3 billion people separated by the same mountain ranges, the same oceans, slightly different borders, different languages. Today, it's nearly 8 billion people. What does that mean? It means we have far more potential, and it means the stakes are that much higher. It's simple math. More than any time in our history, we have ready access to the necessities of life to nourish our bodies. We have access to history's greatest ideas to inspire our minds. We can't say we weren't told. We can't say we didn't know. We have to absolutely act on it. But there's something also that we have to be aware of, and that's the fact that not everyone has access to those necessities. There's still work to be done. But the threat to that opportunity that we have that I want to highlight today is the fact that we also have access to history's worst ideas more than ever before. We also have to recognize the risk that comes from the fact that it is easier than ever before to marshal the ignorant in service of selfishness, ugliness, and hatred. We can't take anything for granted. We have to be vigilant. So what do we do? How do we inoculate ourselves against this threat? Dr. King knew the answer, and his teachings are our vaccination. Listening to his teachings gives us antibodies to face this risk. And for me, Dr. King represents 3 fundamental concepts that I would like to share with you today: education, experience, and expectation. Let me be more specific. Lifelong education, shared meaningful experiences. This is a shared meaningful experience, and higher expectations than ever before. Ambassador Andrew Young recently shared with the folks at McGraw-Hill his observation that Dr. King always traveled with books. He was a lifelong student. Yes, he was a clergyman, but he was so much more than that. He was a historian. He was a scientist. He was a logician. He was an anthropologist, a philosopher, and a poet. You can be all those things if you commit to your education. That is a lesson for all of us, because individual education is the means by which we all have a collective benefit. And now, experiences. These grand ideas, unless they lift our voices, unless they animate our limbs, are hollow. They must spur action. We must leave the sterile environment of the classroom and the libraries and sometimes the corporate world and make a difference. That's how ideas imbue this world with meaning. And lastly, higher expectations. We inherit this beautiful world from our ancestors. We will leave this world to our descendants. In between, we live, we dream, we reminisce, but mostly we're obsessed with the present. We think about our own individual lives, what's going on today, what's going on here. We have to be connected to all everywhere. Dr. King's words now from Letter in a Birmingham Jail, paraphrasing. We are all inescapably trapped in an interconnected network of mutuality. We are bound in a fabric of humanity. What happens to one individually happens to all of us indirectly. We must recognize this shared experience. That's why we're so proud of the work that we have done with our authors to create materials that encapsulate Dr. King's thinking so that future generations can be civil rights leaders in this country and beyond. Education, experiences, and expectations. Those are the words that resonate in my mind. those are also the ideas that resonate in my being. Thank you. I have one more announcement to make. It's not enough simply to provide this curriculum. We have to recognize the community that we all share. And I want to announce today that every time this curriculum is adopted, we will have the chance to donate to Andrew Young's foundation and the scholarship for young leaders of the future to attend a historically black college and university of their choice somewhere in this country, so that they can be educated and create experiences for others and raise the expectations for all of us. We are in this web of humanity together. Let's act like it. Thank you.